Greetings, brave adventurers! My name is FoxyBard, and I'm back with some more stories for you. We're gonna do things a little bit different today. Instead of just subjecting me to nothing but the most horrible of all occurrences that has ever happened repeatedly, I'm gonna mix it up. We will begin with a horror story. In this case, it's actually gonna be one of mine. Followed it with a glory story, a story where nice things happen. And then we're gonna end with the worst one of the bunch, and I'll definitely still need to just to lie down. But that's for later. For now, grab a seat around the fire as we dig into these tales of role-playing. Yes, see, I still remember that line. As I mentioned, our first story today is by, well, it's by me. This is a tale about the Kingmaker game that wasn't. Nothing truly that horrible happens in this, but it's still just a bad experience that I've had fairly recently. And I've gotta write some of my own stuff. I'm not gonna have H. Bomber Guy include me in his next 4-hour-long takedown video. Tale start. A friend and I signed up for a Kingmaker campaign in Pathfinder 1st Edition, and then we never got to play Kingmaker, despite supposedly signing up for exactly that. Let me explain. The characters that matter here are myself, Brooke, and GM. The other players were somewhat timid and awkward and didn't really engage very much. My friend Brooke and I have been wanting to play the Pathfinder AP, that's Adventure Path, Kingmaker together for years. Play together, not have one of us run it. So, when I saw a listing for a Kingmaker game, starting from the very beginning of the AP, we both jumped on that. We met the GM and other players, and they were a little awkward, but nothing really outside the ordinary for TTRPG players. Sorry. Even Session 0 seemed fine, especially after learning about the other players and the overall party composition. Then we get to Session 1. Oh, Session 1. We're expecting to open in Bravoy in the court of Lady Jamandi. This is not a spoiler. This is literally the start of the AP. Instead, we're informed that not only have we as a group already agreed off-screen to journey together, but that we're still days away from Bravoy. Oh, okay, so a little bit of an intro adventure. That's fine. Kingmaker does start a bit dull. I like it, but not everyone does. The GM introduces us to a carnival. To this day, I still feel a sense of impending dread whenever a GM mentions a carnival. We fool around for a bit, seeing the sights, talking with each other, and playing some carnival games. It's pretty boring, honestly, but it does kind of work to set up initial social relationships, so I think nothing of it. I figure we're gonna get going after about an hour of this and set out for Kingmaker, the thing we all signed up to play. Not so much. The GM draws specific attention to one of the attractions, an alleged dragon. It's just a lizard. Like, 3 out of the 4 of us, who are first-level characters, identify it as being just a lizard. Fine, sure, whatever. It's dumb, but in fitting with the tone of the carnival, maybe now we can get on the road to... It escapes its enclosure. People are freaking out. The dragon is going on a rampage. Not really, it's just kind of waddling around the carnival, but we are apparently the only remotely capable fighters in the entire area, so we are contracted to kill it. Not capture their star attraction. Oh no, they just want us to put it down. The fight is over in 2 rounds. I'm playing an Inspired Blade swashbuckler, so my damage at first level is very, very foxing high. We are heralded as heroes and paid a total of 10 gold pieces for our efforts, to split between 4 of us. Yay. We are also given free lodging for the night. Oh, right. It's night now. We have to stay here. And that's the end of session 1 of this Kingmaker game. So then session 2 comes around, and guess what the GM has us doing? Go on, guess. I'll wait. Got it yet? There's no prize. It's an easy guess. We are still at the carnival. We are helping the carnies to rebuild. I asked if we can just get on with it and go do Kingmaker, and am told that we must finish the carnival first. This takes the entirety of session 2. I ask if now that we're done with that, we can just say that we arrive in Bravoy, but I'm told no. There are more things to do on the way. So Brooke and I left, and that's how the story ends. There's a moral here. If you advertise and promise playing a certain game, do that. Don't stick us in 2 sessions of a boring carnival. Tail end. And again, this was not the worst thing to ever happen. It was pretty mild in the face of things, mostly just really kind of annoying, because we've been trying to play Kingmaker for years together, and we just can't seem to find a group for it, despite it being probably the single most popular adventure path for 1st edition. It baffles the mind. It is beyond explanation why the GM thought that instead of playing the critically acclaimed and most popular, best designed, best balanced everything AP in Pathfinder. Well, it's actually probably not the most balanced. It's wonky. But the point is, the best, the most popular, the one that everybody loves, we should instead go to some carnival and help carnies fight a dragon. I'm still irritated now, just bringing it back up. Ugh, stupid carnivals. Right. Next, though, is a good story. And it's by a user I recognize. No, it's not me again. Our next story comes to us by the user Nemenev, and I'm very certain I've read at least one of their stories before, and I know for a fact, because I checked, that they are in my Discord server. So, hi Nemenev, nice to hear from you again, even if this is a year after just don't worry about it. It's called Horny Bard Wishes for His True Love. Backfires spectacularly into success. And that's not a bad summary, but I'll let the storyteller tell it. I guess I'm the one telling it to... Tale start. After the first wave of COVID hit, I managed to join a relatively short campaign. We started at level 7 or 8, I think. I took the chance to play a straight battle master and had a blast. Oh, when I read this, I thought that was strength of 8 and it made no sense, but straight as in yeah, okay. My reading comprehension is fine, thank you very much. Anyway, it was a party of 5, and among us was a Horny Bard. It was annoying at times, but not entirely problematic, and the game was somewhat goofy, so it was not a tone-deaf approach either. The player was good, but the character was purposely hamstringed by its, well, character. A hopeless romantic at times, and a butterfly with a boner the rest of the day. He reminded me of Roberto Benigni, I don't know who that is, for some reason. A bit of an over-energetic man-child. I'm gonna look up who that is really quick, hang on. That is apparently an Italian comedian. Neat! While the build was suboptimal, the character behaved in combat and clutch moments, and wouldn't try to flirt with the Naga while the rest of the party was being eaten alive. Okay, so like a reasonable... yeah, that's fine. It was fine, though in RP situations, and especially during downtime, he spot-hogged a little with his romantic diatribes. Playing a bard that's sometimes hard not to do because you're playing a natural performer. I'm guilty of this from time to time. I try to tone it back, though. Anyway, we were midpoint in the campaign, and the DM asked us before a session what mid to high level magic item we would like before the end. It was so that he could write it into the plot and let us have it for the final third of the road. That's a cool move. I asked for a +3 war pick because my character was obsessed with that weapon and named each version of it he got. The others asked for similar stuff and it was all good, except for Bard. He asked for a wish. DM said cool, but if he used it for something weird or OP, there was a chance of it backfiring or having a secondary effect, much like Homer's monkey's paw. Bard accepted. Wait, is the monkey's paw myth from Homer? No, it's from 1902. Did he think The Simpsons wrote it? The thing about Bard's horniness was that he played it like he was always chasing tail, but also tragically speaking about true love and his quest to reach it. He's betted many fair maiden to be disappointed over and over. It was cheesy and cringy, but it was harmless and could lead to fun times too. So the time came for Bard's wish, and, unsurprisingly, he gave a speech about romance and love and his sexual exploits, and wished for finding true love. Bush done. I paraphrased the DM. Well, actually, the monument to the goddess he wished upon replied, "Very well. True love will come to you soon." And so it did. About 2 weeks in-game later, a tavern, you can say barmaid unless this is like a sex worker, approached the bard. The DM told him she looked familiar. There was something in her eyes. She reminded him of a fair young lass he'd been with once, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But she was different back then. Younger, fitter, prettier. Really? Whatever. This new version of her was stocky, limped, coughed like a miner, and looked like time and wear erased all the pretty in her face she undoubtedly once had. Okay, this is a minor gripe, but I personally hate this kind of thing. Like, older women who have been through stuff can still be incredibly attractive. And if you don't think so, that's a personal weakness. She asked the bard if he recognized her, and he indeed remembered. He slept with the woman and carried a memory of her that was, well, painted by beer goggles. Oh, I don't like this either. This framing is... It's fine. Most of the party mocked the bard for it. Really? It's... Dude, she's just older now. Ugh. And we taunted, saying this was true love knocking on his door like the prophecy said. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. You don't have to... It's okay. I'm fine. This is fine. This is supposed to be a glory story, not Foxy gets mad about misogyny. The bard looked at the GM shocked. Out of character asked, "You're really gonna do this?" DM winked mischievously. Actually, I'm embellishing things. It was a short, pointless argument, and the DM promised it was going to be fine. He winked at some point, but it kinda went unnoticed. He said it would backfire, or do something different than exactly what you wanted, and that's even described in the effect of the wish spell. You can't just expect the DM to drop a perfect, beautiful woman right into your lap and be... Actually, I'm realizing that's exactly what he was expecting. Anyways, the woman asked the bard to meet her later, for she had something for him. We kept teasing the bard for the rest of the scene, and later they met. We stuck around in the shadows in case it was a trap. Okay, that's smart. So we all got to witness the woman meeting the bard in an alley and introducing him to a 5-year-old lad. Red-haired as his mom, but, as the DM described, with facial features and mannerisms that were undeniably Bard's. Where'd he get the mannerisms? Mannerisms aren't genetic. whatever, she told him his name and that it was his responsibility now, since she had not long to live, accounted for by her awful coughing fits. Long story short, Bard was Dad Bard now, and we had to take care of a child while we tried to save the world, kinda. And this is where I spin from hating this to loving this, because this is perfect. Of course, we didn't take the kid to dungeons and use him as trap bait, but he came with us in our journeys, and Bard hired a sort of babysitter to take care of him while we got in trouble. The party chipped in for a fund for the mother to try to seek help or live comfortably for her final days. But what was wonderful about this is that the Bard took it fantastically and pretty quickly shifted from Horny Bard to 80s sitcom dad and really milked it. Bard and son bonded, and it made the whole game much more interesting for all of us. We were actually pretty invested in that character arc as we became uncles and aunts. Aunts? In the end, the Bard checked his quest for finding true love as completed, and after saving the world, kinda, he used his riches to live a good life with his kid. He also, still slept around a little, and taught all the kids his moves, but a happy ending all things concerned. I hope you didn't teach a 5-year... No, it's fine, it was probably when he was older. Tail end. And as much as I was complaining about, like, some of the tone stuff in the campaign, it just sort of feels like kind of a, just dudes being bros, being guys, being dudes, or whatever. The same sort of casual, passive misogyny that happens a lot in those types of gatherings. It ended up being phenomenal. Like, that's such a good way to handle that. I love the idea of giving the big womanizer a kid to watch over and love and learn how to be a dad. And that actually probably only helped his chances with the ladies. Yeah, bet you did. But let's finish with another story about a bard. But instead of a horny bard, the exact opposite. And someone who disagreed with that. Our last story comes to us from the user Disastrous Sapphire, which is one of my favorite usernames I've read in a long time. Call me. Player won't stop talking about sex after finding out my sexuality. This one may come with, not like a full trigger warning, but a content warning. It's gonna be gross. So yeah, just be ready for that. Tale, start. This is a story that might require a sexual content warning. I'm going to try my best to not go into too much detail, but I still want to give it a fair warning. I agree with this, and as you noticed, I gave one of my own. TLDR, player keeps making jokes about my character being asexual, ends up getting booted, but still finds a way to ruin the campaign. I've been playing D&D for years now, and I've become accustomed to playing online. You and me both. However, the campaign was put on hold while our DM dealt with creative burnout, taking a brief hiatus, and my D&D addicted brain had nothing to do with my free time, so I started looking around for in-person groups. It took a while, but I eventually found one in my city with some people around my age. I thought this was great, and joined with a changeling bard. I will spare you my rant on D&D changelings, but they're not changelings. They're half doppelgangers. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I had played this character because I liked the idea of a performer that could change their look to match any role they needed, changing their appearance if they sung songs in different languages, or when they told stories, they could actually change into the people they were pretending to be. Well, the problem player, who I'll just call Rogue, thought I did this for another reason. And the thing is, I do like D&D changelings. I like the idea behind it, but they're not... Right, I'm doing the rant. I need to not be doing the rant right now. In session 1, they made a comment about how my bard could be anyone's wildest sexual fantasy. Okay. okay, they were playing into this stereotype of bards being sexual, but whatever, not a big deal. I think this trope is stupid. The DM started having a male NPC that was in the tavern start flirting with my character, but when I had her act aloof, quickly had the character take the hint, and it ended up with her attempting to teach him how to play her lyre. Despite the talk being friendly, Rogue kept insisting my bard was going to get some tonight. I realize it's going to be hard to understand. It's the only voice I can imagine this person having. They are disgusting. When my bard didn't go upstairs with the man, Rogue questioned this, seeming completely confused. She's not interested, I told him. Oh, I get it. You're playing a lesbian. He said this as if it made perfect sense. No, she's not interested in women either. She's asexual, I explained. Hey, guess what? I'm an asexual bard. We exist. There's more than just you, I promise. Though I am also a lesbian. I can be both. Rogue and a few other players, the cleric and wizard, questioned what this was, and I basically gave the brief explanation that she doesn't feel sexual attraction. Cleric seemed confused, but didn't question it, and wizard accepted the answer with no hesitation. Rogue, however, acted as if I made my character this impossible sexuality for other reasons, questioning if I had done this because I was trying to be one of those players that was trying to avoid the Horny Bard meme. Bro, you're the one who tried to force the meme. You have no ground to stand. It gets worse. I don't know why I'm already freaking out this bad. It gets so much worse. I don't know what he meant by one of those players, but I explained to him that I just made my character the same sexuality as myself. Honestly reasonable. I do the same a lot of the time, but sometimes I enjoy, exploring other things from a roleplay standpoint, and it's such a cool, fun, safe way to do it that you don't really get a lot of other opportunities for. I love role-playing games. They're so great. Rogue suddenly got excited as he immediately had his character go up to mine, questioning why she didn't go chase her man, and started explaining in detail the most anime-styled sex scene they could possibly have, which involved Rogue mentioning how she could do things like turn her arms into tentacles. Sky didn't know what asexuality was a few minutes ago and has now decided that he hates it and wants to make fun of someone for it. I had my bard say she simply wasn't interested and tried excusing herself from this awkward situation. Wizard and cleric remained silent, and the DM tried moving past Rogue's antics, cutting him off as he continued the session. At this point, that's all you really can do, and if it keeps being a problem... Spoiler, it keeps being a problem. The game itself was pretty much... I don't know what the next word is meant to be. Pretty much normal, pretty much fun, pretty much great. The world will never know. The game itself was pretty much. I loved Wizard and Cleric's characters, and the DM was great at world building in this homebrew setting. I don't know if DM had a conversation with Rogue on the side or not, because he didn't say much for a few sessions. But the moment my bard got talking to anyone, Rogue instantly started making jokes about the two getting together, saying sexual things. I tried brushing it off, thinking if maybe I didn't bring it up, the joke would eventually become boring. However, apparently, according to Rogue, my facial expression when he would bring up this stuff was priceless and enough for him to continue. After the third or fourth time of this, I finally questioned why Rogue kept doing this, as it was starting to get on my nerves. I couldn't have a normal NPC interaction with him yelling at my character to turn into a short stack with huge tits or a large woman with skull-crushing thighs. I didn't mince words. I told him, it's annoying that I can't keep a normal conversation with someone. What if I told you we're not even halfway done? Rogue laughed and said he did it because he thought my reactions were funny. My reactions of shock and disgust were funny to him. I told him why I found it annoying, most because I didn't like him continuously bringing up my sexuality. It wasn't relevant to anything my character was doing. He made a comment about how it's relevant because my character never flirts with anyone, so I was the one reminding everyone that she was asexual. Figure that logic out. Wizard made a brief comment about how little sense this makes. So what if a straight or gay character constantly doesn't flirt with everyone? Is that reminding everyone of their sexuality every time? I'm pretty sure they meant does flirt, because that sentence doesn't make sense like that. Whatever. It turned into a heated debate that I mostly tuned out. DM ended up ending the session early, and I packed up my things, heading home with a sour taste in my mouth. I had hoped everything would blow over by next session, and maybe Rogue was embarrassed enough to stop this nonsense after Wizard and DM argued about the flaws in his logic when it came to the idea of my sexuality, which he claimed I was the one bringing it up by playing that type of character in the first place. Okay, I have a point here. So what? So what? So what if someone brings that up? Bringing up your sexuality is a pretty common thing to happen, not necessarily explicitly, but if a straight person says, I have to go home to my husband, is she bringing up her sexuality? Yes, she is, and that's okay. I do not understand why it's a problem. What, because it's different than yours? Go to hell. However, next session started with Rogue talking to my character as they walked along the road, and he started having the birds and bees talk with her. No, I'm sorry. He started describing the way sex works as if this was an anime scene. No, he wasn't a weeaboo or your stereotypical neckbeard. He was actually pretty muscular and gave off a weightlifter vibe. Okay, now I'm guessing this is just an Andrew Tate supporter, which is worse, actually, than a weeb or a neckbeard. I told him to cut it out of character and had my bard walk ahead of him. DM tried moving on, describing the scene as my character moved away from him. I could see DM giving Rogue a look that silently read, "Stop it, or you're about to get the boot." He had his rogue run up to her and put his arm around her, describing all the different things she could turn into, saying that she could be some guy's personal harem, 20 different girls in one. Who wouldn't cap that? And then he made some kind of weird moaning noise, which I will not be replicating. Nope. I stood up and started gathering my things. DM started going back and forth between Rogue and I, yelling at Rogue and how he was about to get kicked while trying to get me to stay at the table. I told DM that I couldn't deal with this, that this drew a line and I was too uncomfortable with the situation to continue. I thanked him for running the game, apologized for leaving like this, and packed up the rest of my things. Rogue was sitting there silently, but he looked like he was actually angry, glaring at me as if I had done something to him. DM fumed silently for a brief moment until I started zipping up my bag. Once I was leaving the room, DM turned to Rogue and told him to start packing up his things because once he was sure I was in my car safely, he wanted him the hell out of his house. Which I appreciated he waited to kick Rogue out, making sure we didn't leave together at the same time. I don't think Rogue would have tried something IRL, but I guess DM got an entirely different impression. And even if you aren't sure, it is so much better to be safe than the alternative. I received text messages from DM the next day apologizing for not kicking Rogue sooner. Apparently, Rogue was his cousin, and he had initially been afraid of his family giving him crap if he kicked him out of the game, since he expected Rogue to go around changing details in the story to make himself look like an innocent angel. Yeah, he's family. It only gets worse from here. I felt bad for DM. I knew he was in a tough position, and with me thinking Rogue wasn't going to be there, I came back to the table. For the next few months, everything was great. I even continued playing with my online group when they started back up again because of how much fun I was having. We added a new player, another bard, to our group. The two of us became nearly instant best friends slash rivals in-game. Constantly trying to outdo each other and performing in fun and competitive ways. Everything was great until Rogue had apparently found out I was still in the campaign, because one day he drove past DM's house and saw my car. Next thing I know, Rogue is dropping in every time he sees my car outside. DM even tried switching the times, but we couldn't exactly hide my car, and because everyone else either walked to DM's house or didn't own a car of their own, no one could pick me up. And probably the scummiest thing Rogue did, after the first initial time he did this, DM asked him to leave. Good. So Rogue started making sure to at least bring one other cousin of his and DM's over. And as you'd expect, Rogue would make comments about the two female bards sleeping with each other. Sometimes he'd even get whoever he brought with him to join in, making moaning noises whenever our characters would share moments with each other or perform together, or yelling things for our characters could do to each other. Some of them were as bad as, if not worse, than Rogue himself. There was a couple of times some of them would look uncomfortable and not say anything. I'm not sure if it was peer pressure or groupthink that got a majority of them to play along, though. And now, welcome to hell. The final straw was when, during one scene, the other bard had made mine a flower crown and ended up confessing her feelings. She actually had deeper feelings than I or my character expected. Before I could say anything, Rogue suddenly yelled out from DM's kitchen, causing the other degenerates with him to break into laughter, as some of them started yelling different sexual things for them to do, or degrading stuff. I am so sorry that you're here with me, but here we are. Other bard finally stood up, yelling how disgusting they were, and that she wasn't going to continue playing if she had to deal with him before getting up, raking all of her dice and items into her bag messily before she snatched her character sheet, nearly crumpling it as she left the house, slamming the door behind her. DM looked like he was about ready to pull his hair out. He had been placed in a position where he had to pick between causing family discourse or saving his game. He saved himself the stress, and this was our last session of that campaign. Other Bard had sent apology texts to everyone in our group, feeling guilty for the campaign ending. I told her it wasn't her fault, and ended up explaining what had happened prior to her joining. While this did make her feel better, she still made it known she regretted her actions. She had tried offering her apartment up as a place we could play, but DM declined. He had lost pretty much all motivation to continue this campaign. And I don't blame him. That's just so hard to deal with your family doing that. There's no good answers here. And that's how this campaign ended. Someone my character actually could have a romantic relationship with that would respect her boundaries unanswered. A declaration of love hanging in the air, while a yes was frozen in time on the other's lips. An extremely bitter ending. Now, I would normally be ending the story here, but OP posted a few edits to clarify some questions that came up. Edit. A lot of people are saying the DM sucked and he should have done more. While I do agree he could have done more, I don't blame him. Family stuff can be messy, and he's probably been pushed around by Rogue all his life. I was also someone he knew less than a year, so I understand him not wanting to cause too much drama over this situation. Do I like it? No, but I understand it. I also don't know if Rogue would have necessarily tried anything with me that day. I don't know if Rogue has done something like this before, and that's why DM was weary. I'll probably never know the full details about that. As far as locking the door, we tried that once. Not only did Rogue ring the doorbell non-stop because he knew DM was home because of the cars, but he also told his family about how cruel DM was for locking him out. Rogue brought over cousins and friends as witnesses for the DM yelling at him for overreacting about his so-called jokes. When DM would ask them to leave or something to that effect, Rogue would innocently say stuff like they were just watching or wanted to see what happened, making things socially awkward and where DM would have to get downright nasty with Rogue to force him to leave, which Rogue would use as ammunition against him with their other family members. When it comes to families like this, DM is in a tough spot. I wish he had done more, but I personally don't hold anything against him. It's easy to say what you should do unless you're in a situation with family drama. I'm no longer in DM's life, but Rogue is, and possibly always will be, even if he tries to cut him off. And now, tail end. I felt it necessary to include those edits because they bring up a lot of the things that I would have asked, I would have had questions or advice about. And I maintain that there isn't a good answer to this situation. This person was disgusting, foul beyond reasonable doubt. I sincerely hope that at some point the DM here did find his backbone and stand up to his family, because it seems like this is a very toxic family relationship for him, and it seems like they're kind of poisoned against him to begin with, so I don't know what he's losing by getting rid of him. So far he's lost friends in a great D&D game by not cutting them out, so I really hope it gets better. As for OP, I think you did everything you could. I wish that I could have been there and helped try to stand up for you, because I would not be silent if that was happening in a game that I was playing in. Not at all, but that's hard for a lot of people to do. Standing up for something is difficult. It took years for me to be able to learn just how to do that, and how to speak up on behalf of others even. That's hard. I sincerely hope that you and the other bard got to keep playing together. It sounds like you two made an awesome team. I will probably never know, but I can hope, right? What can I say besides you tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. No, I will not apologize. That does it for us today. If my voice sounded a little, deeper and huskier and, I don't know, sexier than usual, it's because I'm still fighting off the remnants of a sore throat, so, it is what it is. I did go see a doctor. It wasn't actually strep throat. I thought it was. I was exposed to some people with strep, and I have a terrible immune system, but I did the responsible thing, and I went to check. Yeah, it turns out being an adult is good to do every now and then. But yeah. Here's the part where I tell you to do all the YouTube stuff. You know what it is. Like the video, comment below what you thought, and any other strange, random, interesting comments that you have for me. Subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, choose all notifications. I know how many of you have done that and how many of you haven't. I don't personally care that much, but it would be nice, you know, it'd make me feel good. If you want to find me in other places, I do have a Discord server, link is in the video description. I am also on Twitter at @FoxyBard, but I'm mostly active on Discord if you want to find me. In addition, I would love to give, as usual, a gigantic thank you to all of my patrons whose names are scrolling by the screen right now. If you want to join this list of wonderful, illustrious, incredible, brilliant, genius, beautiful... I like them, okay? It's $3 a month. Patreon.com/FoxyBard if you would like to support me. I love and appreciate every single little ounce of support I can get to the ends of the earth. Okay, so that actually didn't put me in that bad of a state, you know, compared to last week. I think having the glory story in the middle is a good call. That helps. Yeah. So let's douse the fire and get back to our own adventures.